Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about Mary Spender's recent video where she shared her experience with a UK tour that ended up putting her 12,000 pounds in the red. Okay? It's a very brave and honest discussion that Mary Spender has brought to the forefront here, and I think there's a lot to unpack. And I want to give Mary Spender a lot of credit because as a singer-songwriter and an artist, for you to get out there and kind of talk about your, I don't want to say failure, but, you know, the fact that you lost money on a tour is, you know, because you know it's got to hurt her, okay? Nobody's happy about that. And for her to come out and speak about it in a way that I think we can all benefit from it, I give her a lot of credit. And it's not just about Mary's tour, but it's about what it really takes to succeed as an independent artist in today's music landscape. I think that there's some things that I'm going to say, and I don't want to sound critical of her at all. I really admire her YouTube channel. I watch her YouTube channel. If you don't know who Mary Spender is, she's a very well-known YouTuber. She's this kind of like comes across as this posh and sophisticated young woman from the UK who's built a significant audience on her YouTube channel, right? Probably 20 times the size of this channel. And she's a singer, a guitarist, and a music content creator. And I do find myself, you know, watching her channel. She'll do something where she'll just like, she's got this nice like set, and she'll just like play a little guitar and talk about, you know, let's say Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, you know. The song Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, you know. She'll just kind of comfort you and talk you, take you on this little headspace journey with her. And I like that. I vibe with that as a fellow musician. I don't find her, you know, she doesn't really give you lessons. She's not like this elaborate player, elaborate singer, or anything like that. So again, my intention here is to have an honest conversation about her tour and maybe mention some reasons and some things that she didn't cover in her video about what else might have failed. And this holds true for all of us. I'm a singer-songwriter myself. I have albums out. I've paid musicians to play. I've, you know, shelled out money for things that didn't quite go the way I wanted them to. I was on a little bullshit TV show where it was like a singer-songwriter contest, and I got voted off like in the first round, even though I thought I was better than the other people. And, you know, this is the name of the game, okay? So I'm not going to say anything towards her that is meant to be negative that I wouldn't say to myself or anyone else that I care about trying to bring us all to a better level of like just realization of what we're up against. So let's start with the financial side of things. And Mary's transparency about her costs is really commendable. She highlights how the venue fees, hotel stays, rental cars, and other expenses really added up quickly, right? And that's true. These logistic hurdles are real for any independent artist or any small business these days. It's always been tough out there for indie musicians, but now it's just tough out there in general, right? And one major cost that deserves more attention is the hiring of side musicians. Mary brought in professional players to back her up on this tour, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Standard practice. But it's important to recognize that this adds a significant expense, and these musicians, they're there to do a job and make money, you know. In my experience, I've used side people to play live with me, to come into the studio with me. And I've had good players, guys I knew. They don't really care about you. They're there to make money. I've never had one of them do anything like a little extra for nothing. Never happened, you know. So, and that's okay. But, you know, you as the artist is one thing, and hired musicians are hired musicians. They're not your audience. Okay, let's take a little look at some of the stuff she talks about.
This is a video about my recent UK tour, what went right and what went wrong.
What went wrong? You didn't make money.
Very wrong.
I feel it. Okay, so here she's going to talk about some of the costs involved. Let's take a look.
My 2024 UK tour was a completely DIY operation. So I want to run through some of the costs involved. First of all, I needed a band to do the album justice. I was honoured to be joined on the road by Paul Romero, who produced the record and took on second guitar duties. David Duffy on bass and Chris Hardwick on drums.
Okay. You hired people to come produce your album. Very nice.
Were the finest rhythm section I could ask for. But
the whole rhythm section was the Purple Gang.
These men
Jailhouse Rock.
have mouths to feed and rent to pay and must be compensated for their work, equaling £7,994. That's my first big expense.
Big expense.
Musicians. That covers their personal practice time.
Okay, their personal practice time. Let's move forward through this a little bit. She talks about how they had to deal with her special, requests. I think she's joking. It's hard to tell. With sometimes the British humor, I don't get it. I don't know if she's joking or not. Maybe she's a diva.
Filming for the planned tour vlogs. The promoter and tour manager were sharing the driving
so she had a promoter.
And selling the merch.
The
promoter took a fee, but the other two are, they're already on my company payroll.
Okay, company payroll.
Not everyone is based in the UK, so I needed to book some flights to get everyone in one place, plus several seats for the Mr. Musical Instruments. That's £1,838.
So
once in the UK, with 7 of us plus gear, we needed a van.
So she's going through all this stuff. Vans and drivers and flight tickets and musicians.
£1,950 for 2 weeks, plus £444 on fuel. I also spent £255 on a huge...
Wait a minute, did she rent a Mercedes? Because I'm going to shut this off right now if she did. Hold on a minute.
Plus several seats.
I don't feel bad for you anymore. No.
The Mr. Musical Instruments. That's £1,838.
Okay.
Once in the UK, with 7 of us plus gear, we needed a van. That's £1,950 for 2 weeks, plus £444 on fuel. I also spent £255 on a huge hire car for a few days to pick up an amp, the merch, a drum kit, and a drummer. Okay, transport sorted, but we also needed somewhere to stay for the night.
Okay, so she booked them hotels. So all this incurs quite a cost. Now she plays a little bit of her song here. And she does this little...
We'll do all the miles we can, 'cause tonight my friends will all be sleeping in the van. Sleep in the van. Don't wanna go back, but that's the only way you can.
Okay, sleeping in the van. Okay, it's starting to look like I'm picking on her, and I'm not trying to pick on Mary Spender, but I think what could happen here is if you have a big YouTube presence, you can almost lose sight of the fact that if you're going out there to play music for people, it's the thing that you're selling is no longer your YouTube personality. They can get that on YouTube for free, right? What you're selling when you go out there to play music is your songs, first and foremost, your ability to play that instrument and connect your playing to that audience in a very, very strong way, your conviction, and when you're singing a song, not only the song itself, but the delivery of that song. And I'm not saying whether she does or doesn't. I'm not here to judge her. I have music out there myself. I have demons. I know what it's like to be a struggling singer-songwriter and to put together something that doesn't go quite the way you want it to. Okay, so that is not what I'm here to do. But what I'm here to say is that going out as a musician to perform songs for people is not the same thing as people being fans of your music content, your YouTube channel, which is based around music. But it's, you talking about vinyl records and you talking about songs you like and your approach to guitar and your approach to music is different than the music itself. It'd be like a restaurant or a food blogger who talks about restaurants and food, going out and now cooking meals for people and having a restaurant, and now they're there to consume your food. Now, she sold 1,200 tickets. I couldn't sell 1,200 tickets, so I'm not putting that down. There are people, 1,200 people wanted to hear her shit, came out to see her play. But the tour itself was too ambitious. Either the material or the connection from the material to the audience has to be bigger, where you have more people coming out to come see you or willing to pay more to come see you. Or you got to scale down the expenses of the tour. You can't be hiring Mercedes vans and expensive musicians. Maybe find some musicians that kind of just feeling your stuff, and they're maybe give them a piece of the profits if they're into you that much. Good luck with that, because I find side musicians they're side musicians. They got to get paid. They're not going to do anything for free. Not in my experience. And the ones that are probably ones you don't want to play with anyway. So I just think that's the kind of the elephant in the room that no one's talking about. When it's very hard to write songs and get really good at an instrument and really amazing at singing and everything else when you're spending time making content. And I know, because I make content, right? It's very time consuming. And back in the day, the singer-songwriters that we all kind of grew up loving, all they did was play and sing and get out there and do it. They had chops in that world of actually performing for people. That was their skill. Now we're all watered down. We make content and we do this and we sit in a room by ourselves and we compose music. It's not the same thing. And the bottom line is the songs are either going to connect or not. Your material's out there for people to hear. They heard it.
Adding a few more pounds to the ticket prices, including the taxes, would have made a big difference. That was probably the biggest mistake that was made.
Now, would people have paid that price? Probably for her. I'm sure the fans that went out there were super fans, and they would have paid whatever she asked for the ticket price. Okay, the other thing she talks about is how she spent money on promoting on Facebook, but it wasn't enough. Like, people still didn't know. Even with her huge YouTube channel, people still didn't know that she was out there on tour. Now, my thing is, they know who you are. It means they've listened to your music, right? When you listen to an artist that really connects with you on that level, you know, I think they would know that she was out there playing, and I just think they probably like her YouTube, but maybe aren't that into the music itself. And I don't say that to sound mean, but it's like, you call the girl, you ask her out on a date. She says she's busy, and she'll call you, and then she never calls you again. Not that I know what that's like. She's just not that into you. Let's see what she says about it.
Getting the word out there was definitely harder than I expected too, even with the reach of my YouTube channel and newsletter.
And look, I'm sure it is hard to get the word out there. It is. Not everybody sees every post that you make. But they're aware of your music for a couple of years. They've been hearing you talk about this tour. If your music was the shit, when I listen to Chris Stapleton, I'm just like, holy shit, it's so freaking good. I wish I wrote songs like that, just being honest.
And talking about the tour pretty consistently for the best part of a year.
Or Ed Sheeran, for that matter. That kid was going to sell tickets no matter what.
I still saw comments on the tour vlogs saying they had no idea that I was playing in their city. Touring is a business. Every single business owner and entrepreneur will tell you that they've learned hard lessons and failed sometimes. You get knocked down, and if you're resilient enough, you get back up.
Okay. All right, so not that anyone's asking, but if Mary Spender were to ask my opinion, unlikely after seeing this video, she probably would smash a pie in my face if she saw me. But no, I would suggest a few alternative approaches. And these are things I thought about, for myself too, as a singer-songwriter. I would invest some of that budget in putting together like teams of maybe writers when you're putting together your material, people to help you, strengthen the repertoire itself, right? And I've wanted to do that myself, like put together, people to kind of help you in the writing process. All these bigger artists like Ed Sheeran and these guys, they have people helping them write. I don't believe that they're sitting there all by themselves writing these songs. There's no way. There's other entities that are helping bring that stuff to a higher level, right? You could also do some online shows. Maybe she has, I don't know. And you can kind of gauge in real time how the material is connecting to an audience, right? Before scaling up to a big and expensive tour. It's like people think if you build it, they will come. And I've thought this too. Like, I'll spend a lot of money and I'll put musicians together and record a great album, and then this will happen. Not really. It's kind of doesn't really work that way. Just because you spent a lot of money and did it in a big and like fancy way doesn't mean that the fans are going to be there, right? Another thing, and I think this would be a great idea, is to collaborate with other YouTube personalities, other YouTube musicians like myself, but other YouTube musicians, there's plenty, who can go on maybe on a tour together. This is a great idea that I'm kind of thinking of myself. Like, there's power in that, right? I'll be happy to join you on a few dates. If Mary Spender saw me at a conference or something, she'd probably hate me. But I have a lot of respect for what she does, so I hope it's not coming across negative. But the point is, there are ways to build a strong foundation for live performances while minimizing the financial risk. It hurts me that this young lady spent all this money and lost on it. She's going to learn from it, like every business. Like she says, this is how you learn from it. But at the heart of it, the focus has to be creating a music that connects beyond a doubt with the listeners to the point that they're just going to be knocking down your door to come see you play. Right? As James Brown famously said, you can't fake the funk. And Mary's an exceptional YouTuber with a knack for engaging her online audience. But when it comes to live music, the listener knows best. And you can't rely on that to carry your performing career. Audiences can feel that, and they're either going to connect or they're not. And that's the sad truth that we all kind of have to accept and figure out, where do we fit in this. I believe that Mary Spender will put the pieces together and go out on another tour and kill it. That's what I believe, because that's what this young lady is made of. She is successful at heart, and she'll do it. So now, let's get to the end of the video, and this is fairly interesting. You gotta love YouTubers, man. They always have something to sell you. And so at the end of this somewhat like kind of video where she talks about this tour that, I don't want to say it's a failed tour, but it didn't profit. So to some extent, it is a failed tour, but check this out. I'll let her tell you.
This video barely scratches the surface, so I've compiled absolutely everything into a new online course, the Independent Musician's Guide to Touring.
So she put all this into a course. So I love this, and I get it, because there's no better way to learn than from someone else's mistakes, right? They say a smart person learns from their mistakes or something, and like a really smart person learns from other people's mistakes. But here you gotta buy the course to learn how her tour didn't work.
I know. Another course, weird. Another sales pitch. But
she even acknowledges that.
Me just 20 seconds. Plotting my tour took 1 whole year, and that was a lot of trial and error and learning on the go. Some things you really can only learn by doing, but for 95% of what I learned, I can show you exactly where I went right and where I went very wrong.
I'm going to put out a diet and exercise book. Well, I'm going to show you everything I know about like what I've done to get fat. So I'm going to say, don't do that. And okay, I'm being a jerk, but this is what I do. I break chops.
If you're just starting out, you might think you can't afford to tour, that no one will come, that it's too risky, and that no one will care. All of these can be overcome if you know how. We'll take deep dives into hiring venues.
But again, the one thing that doesn't get discussed is the music, the connection of the music to the people themselves. That's the thing that doesn't get discussed in any of this video.
Negotiating contracts, routing, budgeting, and financial planning, the elements of performance, taxes, marketing, merchandise, and more. Every single thing you need to do, you can do yourself. But to speed things up, I've included all my sample budgets, press release templates.
And honestly, it's probably a damn good package, because you're going to save a lot of time by buying the materials that she already painstakingly went through. So, again, I'm just having a sense of humor about it. I'm not trying to put her down, but it is funny that my tour failed. Here's my, here's my kit you could buy on how to go on tour, how to put your tour together. But I do respect her transparency and her willingness to share her not so good experience and her failure. That takes courage, okay? Props to Mary Spender. Props to having the cojones and the nerve to go out there and even book this tour. Props to her on her kick-ass YouTube channel and on her resilience and ultimately on her music, because that's in the eye of the beholder. Like, there's fans of her music, right? There's fans of my music. Every musician has fans, right? It's just a matter of how you build that connection from yourself to the fans. And in the end, Mary offers a very valuable lesson for all of us who dream of performing live. It's not enough to be a personality, a commentator, or even just a halfway decent musician. To sustain a tour, you need great songs, memorable performances, a deep connection with your audience, and you really need to know how to play and sing with conviction. And I think that on her next tour, she's going to come out and she's going to give them hell, and it's going to be awesome. And maybe I'll even buy a ticket and come and see her play. Mary, if you're watching this, thank you for sharing your journey with us. And to my viewers, let me know what you think. Why do you think Mary's tour struggled? Is it just a simple matter of math? And what lessons can we take from it? Let's have a constructive conversation, and I look forward to your comments. Until next time, keep creating, keep performing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.